So Corporate Clash has been out for a little less than 24 hours at the time of me recording this, and over half of that time the servers have been having some trouble. Apparently there's been some DDoSing, as well as just the growing pains expected for a huge launch like this, but despite this I've still managed to make some pretty significant progress on the server so far. I'm almost done with the first playground, almost finished with Toontown Central, and seeing as I've had a little bit more experience playing than I think most people have right now, I figured I could be in an interesting position to kind of give my thoughts and overview on what's new and just what my initial thoughts are on the game so far. So it has been certainly an adventure, and I'm not going to focus on anything regarding stability while I talk about this, because I don't think that's the most effective way for me to tell you what the game is actually like when it's running properly. So what I'm going to talk about essentially is just my playing experience so far, if I've had fun with the actual game, and also just kind of what to expect if you're going to hop in and create your character. So first of all, there is a lot of customization available in your Make a Toon this time around. You can choose between a massive multitude of species, way more colors than before. You've got a color wheel and access to black, white, I believe gray. Massive amount of choices in that regard. You can also pick whatever starting gags you want. If you want to think of just the easiest setup to start with, Squirt and Zap is really fucking strong. I ended up going with Throw and Lure just because I know I want to get those developed, because I want to have kind of a late game spike a little earlier on. I want to be able to solo stuff in the mid game more so, whereas I think Squirt and Zap won't be as good for soloing as the ranks of the cogs level up, whereas Throw and Lure are going to scale really well. So anyhow, essentially there's a large amount of customization. That is a massive plus, because if you're kind of stuck in the TTR feel or the TTO feel where you have this limited number of options on what you want to do with your toon, suddenly there is now a very large variety. You can basically go in many different directions. You can start with drop and prestige it if you just want to have it have high accuracy and plow through stuff that way. You can do what I did and just kind of try to build your lure and throw up, sort of building for the late game. You can Squirt and Zap and just tase the fuck out of everything in your path. You've got a lot of good options, actually, that you are able to pick between. And the only negative thing I can say about the Create a Toon is that some of the eyes of some of the models do not look right. And unfortunately, bunnies probably suffer in this regard more than any other species does. And just, unfortunately, I've really found the bunny's eyes to be off-putting, so this is why on this game I have not recreated Sperry as a bunny with my original model. Instead, I've made a raccoon, and that was partially because I think raccoons are awesome animals. I think they're really intelligent and just cool and mischievous, even though they cause a lot of problems for humans in real life. But also, the bunny really the eyes just didn't look right. I felt like my IQ with my toon got lowered by like 40 points just looking at my toon's eyes, unfortunately, so I decided to pass on that one. But that was a very interesting amount of creativity, and I'm very satisfied with the character I was able to start off with, and really, that has been a plus overall, that aspect has so far. And the creativity in the storyline has also been very fun. What they've done this time around is, instead of having kind of this hodgepodge of different tasks you take, you have a main quest line that's static and focused, and then you have side quests as well, and you get XP for doing your main quests as well as doing some other stuff in the game. And this XP bar, you level up, it gives you a laugh at each time, and once you reach a certain level, then you can get these training points, I believe they're called, talent points, I don't know the exact name, but you can use these to specialize in either prestiging one of your gags, or you can use two of them to pick up a new gag track. So like right now, I'm almost level 8, being done with Toontown Central, and once I ding 8, then I'm going to be able to get my second point, and I can pick up Squirt to go with my Lure and Throw. So there's just a ton of flexibility. You can choose to buff what you have, or kind of spread out, and you can really pick your gags in any order you want. There's nothing predetermined that says you have to go in a certain path. There's a lot of flexibility. And just for me, I like the fact that I can kind of specialize in the build I want to go for, which is going to be very focused on, I suppose, survivability and being able to support myself without needing to rely too heavily on either RNG or on the strength of other toons. So I really do appreciate just the various builds and the various theory crafting, and You can choose between having more gag tracks or having more prestigious. There's a very nice variety of possibilities in this regard, and that's really been a major fun point, I would say, in the game so far. I've got my own thoughts on the theory crafting, but I also partially want to experience the game more before I just spew those out, because I don't know how viable they are. But either way, there's a lot of individuality, and there's nothing like a meta of any sort right now, so there's not really any pressure to conform to a predetermined notion of what's good, such as you need to max and spam sound to be useful. It's just a breath of fresh air in that regard, so that's been a lot of fun. And even the tasks themselves have had a lot of interesting and funny dialogue, and in addition to having the funny dialogue and being rewritten, they also maintain a feel that still has that cartoonish charm that reminds me of the original Toontown, and also they're not nearly as grindy as the tasks on Altus, which was my biggest fear. Project Altus really had very grindy task lines, and it really sucked the soul out of me sometimes seeing those really grindy tasks, because you would just have to fight tons of high-level cogs, and it would just take forever to fetch everything, and it was miserable. I really haven't experienced in Toontown Central grinding that was any worse than in TTO, but it just felt different. Like, the numbers of what I fought have been different. I think I fought fewer cogs overall and had to do more exploring, which I'm also okay with because this is an MMO. And overall, it's been a fun experience. The one thing I will say, though, just in regards to this task line, is that there is not a lot of Gag XP thus far, especially without a currently established invasion district. I've been training my Gags harder than almost anybody else, I think, and I've managed to basically hit level 3 in both of them. I'm a couple points off my $5 bill as of when I'm recording this, but my Gags are barely dinging level 3 when I'm almost done with the first playground, and most people are still stuck with level 1 Gags almost done with the first playground, maybe level 2. So I've noticed that that has been a point of contention, it seems like, early on, unless you're really focusing hard on training Gags. That part is a lot slower than in other servers, so I'm not sure what they're going to do in remedy of that, or even if it's even necessary. Maybe people just need to not be lazy and train their Gags up. I'll have to see how that goes moving forward. I can give an update as that continues to progress, but that is one possible area of concern. I'll have to see how that is moving forward. And also, some of the side quests can feel a little annoying because they can sometimes have these arbitrary factors, such as requiring you to have these certain Gags if you pick it up really early, and you might just feel stuck with this quest line. But generally speaking, I felt like the main quests were very easy to follow, and that's what I focused on, so overall, the new task line is a major plus. I think that it might not be a major plus for every single person, but for me, it's really been exactly what I was looking for, and I've had a pretty good experience so far. I could imagine someone who picked a really bad starting duo of Gags might be miserable, but at the same time, that's someone's fault in the first place for not picking a good starting Gag setup. When you're given a lot of freedom and you make a bad choice, that's, at the end of the day, you have to, I think, have the self-restraint to not pick Tune Up and Trap as your first 2 Gags, for example. So, all that's been cool. And then also just the design of the battles, the animations, the way that the art style is, the reconstruction of everything. There's 2 new playgrounds in this game. I have not gotten a chance to explore the 2 without crashing, unfortunately, but I have gotten to go to this new street they've made. I think it's called Wacky Way. Got these new board bots, got a lot of new shops that are heavily involved in the dialogue and main storyline, and really everything's just felt really awesome, and everything I've seen so far has a high degree of polish and artistic presence, so assuming this maintains moving forward, I'm very much looking forward to exploring all the worlds that maintain to be seen that I have not yet explored. But yeah, so far so great in terms of just the feel of the game and the artistic direction and the creativity. Those have been the things I didn't know a lot going into the game about, and they've been really awesome. I'm not sure how the Gag balance is. Right now I can even feel like there are certain Gags that are just way better than others in terms of like late game prowess and late game scaling and that regard. I think that the biggest thing that might be screwing some people over is that I think there are going to be some Gags that are clearly superior to others when we finish, we're doing endgame content, so I'll have to see how that all goes. And my cat wants to get out of my room, as you can hear his little meow, so I will return in just a second. Alright, my cat was let out of his room, thankfully, as in let out of my room, but anyhow, really, so far, I've been very impressed with all of the polish of what I've seen. I felt like the main task line has been just enjoyable, and it's been a nice change of pace too, because it's incorporated a lot of those existing shopkeepers and some elements of the original tasks while still changing a lot and having there be a lot of focus on exploring and kind of seeing this cartoonish world and the dialogue, which is a really cool feature of an MMO, especially a more casual one. So I'm going to be very interested to see how the other playgrounds are moving forward, to see how this ends up concluding this first world. If there's any real monumental quests in particular, I will upload those individually online with a spoiler tag, of course, or make it clear that this is going to spoil some part of the storyline, but so far nothing, groundbreaking. I haven't had some task that's just completely redefined what I'd expect out of a Toon task or anything, but if moving forward we see any major developments in that regard, I will be interested in documenting them for sure. And definitely, I want to start seeing, once I get those talent points, how the power curve feels, how the art direction and the balancing of, my gags are, and how the rest of the storyline unfolds. But so far, aside from the stability issues, of course, I've found that Corporate Clash has been quite a blast to play, and it has reminded me a lot of just the fun and adventure I had in the original game. By far, out of all the private servers, it's just been by far the most creative and just most unique and breath of fresh air out of what I've seen. ODS had a lot of really cool quality of life features and some level of new content, but just the amount of what has been changed and what feels different in a positive way that captures the spirit of the original game, pretty much unmatched from any other private server I've seen. And I'm hoping that, assuming that with time the server becomes more stable, and assuming with time that some of the small bugs, there are some bugs, of course, like you can get stuck spinning around like a disco dude, and you can crash sometimes in some districts while walking into doors. The game is not bug-free by any means, but I'm certainly hoping moving forward that will continue to be improved upon and stabilized. And also in the future, I want to explore some of the things like the fishing system. I think you can buy a lot more upgrades, a lot more cosmetics, and just I think they've changed the way a lot of those side quest type things work, all those systems. I haven't really gotten a chance to explore them yet, and I haven't gotten a chance to explore the new worlds, but just the stuff I have focused on has been really positive, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing to play this game. If you want to see me play the game in live time, make sure to follow me on Twitch. I pretty much stream whenever I'm going through the content in real time, and I've had a lot of growth on Twitch recently, so I appreciate you all for doing that. And that's about all I wanted to say for my initial thoughts on the game. If you're new to this channel, consider leaving a sub, because I'll be making a lot more videos of this type as I continue to develop my progress throughout the game. And thank you for watching. I will see you soon when I have another update. Have a nice day, Toons. Goodbye.